Hello there and welcome to another Coffee with Colin. Thanks for tuning in. I met a guy during the week, a friend of mine called PJ, and I haven't seen PJ in a few years. We reconnected very recently, and PJ is old school, and a bit like me, PJ believes that the right way to reconnect or to start any form of relationship is over a cup of coffee. Happy days, PJ. Cheers, here we go. And anyway, PJ invited me for coffee, and we had a coffee during the week, and we were talking about his career. PJ's in his 70s, lovely gentleman, thorough gentleman, professional, out, old school, always wears the suit, the tie, impeccably turned out, always has the diary with him. And PJ has had a very varied career, and truth be known, I won't get into it here, but PJ is the man responsible for you and I enjoying several household brands that are now household because of PJ's involvement over the years. In his 60s, PJ decided that he retired from several different careers, all to do with business development, and he decided to set up as a business consultant, and that's what he does now to keep his hat in the ring. The equivalent of a few days a week. He helps various different SMEs on their journeys, and then he plays as much golf as he can. Happy days, PJ. And when I was talking with PJ, we spoke about the past, and he sort of alluded to the possibility that maybe he would have liked, if he was to go back around again, maybe he would have liked to have jumped ship earlier from the corporate world and bet on himself a little earlier. And I sort of asked him, well, why didn't you? And he said, oh, the fur-lined mousetrap. That was very interesting, the fur-lined mousetrap. He went on to explain the fur-lined mousetrap is the high-paid job in the corporate world. It's well-paid, company car, bonus system, blah, blah, blah. It is relatively safe, for want of a term, but it's predictable. It's warm, it's comfortable, it's known, it's got parameters. It's not without risk, but it's, relatively safe. Once you're in the trap, you're in the trap, and to a large extent, nothing can get to you. And I got that, I understand that, and perhaps you do too. The fur-lined mousetrap is that which perhaps is very good, but perhaps being very good, it keeps us from our best, perhaps. But it got me, the fur-lined mousetrap conversation with PJ got me thinking about, it probably was the catalyst around which I've decided to crystallise my thinking about a concept of my own called 81 Patchwork Quilts, and I'm going to get into that in a second. I'm a fan of two things. I'm a fan of promoting two things these days. One is the Cash Flow Quadrant by Robert Kiyosaki, which talks about the four players in the world of business, essentially the four ways to make a crust in this world. There's the employee, the self-employed, the business owner, and the investor. Not going to get into that today because I've done so before, and I will put a link at the bottom of the blog if somebody wants to explore that. But the second concept is one that I've been thinking about for some years. Finally, I've decided to crystallize it and put it out there today, and it's as a result of meeting PJ again during the week and his fur-lined mousetrap. And the concept is 81 Patchwork Quilts. Now, what does that mean? Well, Stephen Covey, the late great Stephen Covey, when I read his book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, and his other works, he alluded to a concept which I really loved, and that concept is the week is the perfect patch in the fabric of life. Just love that. The week is the perfect patch in the fabric of life. And it makes perfect sense if you think about it. Every week is the same size. Every week is 168 hours. Every week has mornings, has work days, has weekdays, has evenings, has lunchtimes, has night times, has weekends. Everything that you and I do happens sometime in a week somewhere. And so the week indeed is the perfect patch in the fabric of life. So I have this analogy in my head that 52 weeks sewn together make up this idea of a patchwork quilt spanning a year. 52 equally sized weeks make up the patchwork quilt that is a year. And you know the way you shade your calendar, I use Outlook, and I've got different colours for different projects. So every week, even though it's the same size and shape, looks different. And indeed every week is different. I'm sure it's the same for you. So I have this idea and this analogy that this concept, this image in my mind that a year is made up, it's like a patchwork quilt lying on the bed of your life, of my life, and it's made up of 52 equally sized but different coloured patches. So the week's the perfect patch in the fabric of life, and 1 year of my life is made up of 52 of them. And why 81 patchwork quilts? Well, my friend, because that, according to the statistics, is the average life expectancy here in Ireland. 81 years. That's it. Now, I'm 54. I've used 54 patchwork quilts to date, which means, according to the stats, I've only got 27 left. I hope I've got many more. Indeed, I'd like to believe I'm only halfway. But if I have used 54, the question really is, they've been discarded, but not in a negative way, because I would like to think I've learned from them. The question really becomes for me, and the question really becomes for you, is how many patchwork quilts do you have left? How many have you used to date? Because it's a finite number. How many do you have left, and what are you going to do with them? And then the question becomes, well, what are you going to do with them, and how are you going to make changes if changes are required? Perhaps you are one of those people out there and you've realised that you're caught in a fur-lined mousetrap, and that the dreams, the aspirations, the business that you always wanted to start, you know, when the kids go to school, I'll start then. Oh, do you know what, when they get to secondary, it'll be easier. Do you know what, we'll get them through college first, then it'll be grand. Do you know what, they're through college, it's a bit late. Maybe we'll just hold on. Or perhaps, do you know what, we've bills to pay, there's car payments, there's mortgage payments, there's doctor's bills. Look, there's life. Let's just call it as it is. Life happens for all of us. But the reality is time is marching on. Time is inexorable. And you and I have both used X number of patchwork quilts of our life to date. Used them, discarded them, learned from them, we hope, and we've got Y number of patchwork quilts left. The question that I'm posing for you today is, how many do you have left? Really, if your life is average, I'd like to think we're all above average, but if your life is average, how many do you have left? And the question is, what are you going to do about them? And how are you going to make a difference? And one of the things that I've learned, going back to Stephen Covey, is the week is the perfect patch in the fabric of life. So if you want to impact the next year, the next 52 patches, well then all you got to do is make next week work for you. You got to make each week work. I do that in Carambola. We measure our business every single week. We measure the week before on a Monday to make sure that we've made progress last week, and if we haven't, we fix it for this week that we're in. So we work really hard to make the week work. If we have the week work, well then the month will work for us. If the month works for us, the quarter works for us. If the quarter works for us, the year works for us. It's fairly simple, really. So you and I need to do the same. I do the same when I'm working with clients. I work with them. I hold them accountable to their plans for their week, and we make sure that their week works. And if their week works, their month works. And their month works, their quarter works, and quarter works, their year will work. Same with health. Same with relationships. Same with anything. If you can make this next week work, this next patch work, and the next 52 work, well then your year will work for you, and you'll be closer to the dreams and aspirations that perhaps you've held down for some time. And I wish you every success. And thank you for joining me for this week's Coffee with Colm. I hope, as ever, and trust that you got something from it. The objective of the series, if this is your first time stumbling across, is whereby I take snippets from my business journey that I've picked up over the years, many of which are chronicled in my book, Feeding Johnny How to Build a Business Despite the Roadblocks, and then put them out there for you to consider, in the hopes that by me doing so, it'll afford you a shortcut where back in the day I myself had none. If you've enjoyed it and you think somebody else would benefit, I'd be delighted if you'd pass the link on, please do. If it's your first time here and you'd like more of this type of stuff, well then go to the homepage, ColmO'BrienMotivation.com, leave me your details, and we'll make sure you get a link like this on a weekly basis. Most importantly, please consider what's been shared here today and apply it into your thinking for the next week, and if necessary, make a few changes. That would be great. And then equally as importantly, please come back next week and let's join me for another coffee. Let's share another coffee together. I'll put some more snippets out there, see where this week leads me, and I'll put something out there next weekend for you to consider. But in the meantime, get some good R&R, get some good coffee. When the time is right, get organised for the week ahead, get your head back in the game, and then make next week count. The week is the perfect patch in the fabric of life. 52 equally sized patches are going to make up your year. How many patchwork quilts do you have left? Make them count. Bye for now. And get some good coffee. Love my coffee. Take care. Speak to you soon. Bye.